My name is Dominique. I've just come out my first year at Bournemouth University studying media production.
Would you like to tell us your hometown?
Yeah, I'm from a place in Lewisham. It's south east of London.
Okay. Could you remind us of the course you're currently studying?
So I'm currently studying media production.
Why did you choose your course?
So somebody asked me this the other day because I was doing an open day, and somebody asked me, where did my passion for media come from?" And I said, "Well, I actually had no idea." And I think it was something that between choosing my GCSE options, I think I was sort of presented with the option of doing drama or doing photography, and I chose photography. And since then, I've sort of had an interest for media. I have no idea where it came from, but I've had my heart set on it since about year eight.
So you now finished your first year. What have you thought of your course?
So my course is definitely it's more or less what I thought it was. I was lucky enough to get in with my first choice. So I sort of had all of the modules that I wanted to have, and yeah, it was a very good fit for me. And I've got almost everything out of my first year that I wanted to, so it's a pretty good fit for me.
Do you have a placement year on your overall course?
So we have an optional placement year, and I am thinking of taking that placement. I feel that as a student who's doing something practical that involves a lot of group work, there's sort of more that goes with having a placement year. But I'm definitely thinking of doing a placement year.
If we were looking at students who are in college and or sixth form and they were looking to study your course, for that first year, what do you think the best A levels or subjects would be to give them the best advantage?
Well, for somebody who didn't do media studies at GCSE or A level, I feel that you could come in with any sort of background. Now, for me personally, I've had a background in photography, which definitely helped me. There were some things that I knew that other people didn't know. But also, if you have a background in like drama, or I also have a background in dance and sometimes in music, they can also come in a lot of hand in quite good. And even if you haven't studied it sort of academically.
Okay. If we now go into the university you're studying at, which is
Bournemouth.
what are the best and worst things about studying at Bournemouth University? Starting off with the worst.
So if I were to think of the worst thing at Bournemouth University, I would say that it feels quite small. I don't know if that's because I've come from London and it's
Can you define small?
so I would say that small is it's like it's just very confined to one campus. And sort of a selection of buildings within the campus. So you could very much so get on, like for me, my first year, I didn't expand as far as the people who were in my seminar group. And I feel that that's something like there's sort of not enough for you to sort of scope out of your little bubble. And I think that sure, like probably for other students it's probably good, but I think for a media student, when you need to be able to expand your horizons, it sort of limits the possibility for being able to do anything else.
Hey, and the best things?
The best thing is, I would say that the university for media, it's very good. I've heard a lot about it. Everything's very accessible. The staff are so helpful. Like I've had so many extra things that have sort of paved the way for just the first year, and I've gained so much more experience. I think yeah, it's just a very good university for a lot of experience and extra options.
Okay. If we now go to where you lived, where did you live in your first year of university?
So in my first year, I lived in halls, and I lived in what I've heard is like the most lively, also the most popular halls, and that was Bailey Point.
And what was it like living at Bailey Point?
Yes,
In
as
your
I
opinion, is it lively? Is it what they just said?
Yeah, it's very lively. It was very lively. Um, and yeah, I didn't have the greatest time in my first year. I didn't get on with my flatmates too well. But I feel I still sort of got the experience as everybody else did. And I mean, what's a university experience living in halls without, having a couple of arguments with your flatmates? But in terms of the actual accommodation, it was really good. There were loads of events through Res Life. They had their own private events, loads of facilities. I would say it was probably worth the arm and a leg that we were paying for it. But yeah, it was pretty statutory.
And now that you're going into your second year, where do you plan to live?
Oh, I've already moved, and I'm in my flat right now. So I sort of opted with private accommodation myself. So yeah, I've just moved into a flat.
Okay. If we now go into the Bournemouth area, you talked about a little bit about the campus being small. What about the actual student life? Like shopping, fun things to do, just living and being a student or a member of society in the area. What's that like?
Well, once again, my horizons don't scope very far. But I would say that definitely I can only sort of give as much information as like the shops in the local area. But I would say everything is definitely accessible. You can do any kind of shopping that you want to do within the local area, whether or not it's like in Bournemouth or in Poole. Um, as it comes to fun things to do, I'm sort of yet to discover any. I'm not sure if that's just because I was a first year and I was focusing on studies, or if I just, wasn't that interested in finding other things to do. But what I've heard, there is a great deal of things to do, mostly golf. But yeah,
Okay. What about the Bournemouth? Did you get involved in the Bournemouth nightlife?
no, nope.
And any special food shops?
Any special food shops?
Any shops that are in Bournemouth that kind of pointed out to you that are a bit different? So obviously you said you lived in London. London is quite known for high class. Or is it the typical your McDonald's, KFC, Nando's, those kind of shops, or is there something special in Bournemouth that you've seen in the area?
It's funny you should say that. I'm sure that there is something. I mean, something. There are two things that I can think of. Um, One of them's Noodle Bar, which was something that within like the first week that I was there, Noodle Bar was full. I heard people walking around town talking about Noodle Bar, and yeah, it's just sort of general point of conversation. And the other place I would say is also Nathan's, which is like a little bit further down from the Noodle Bar in Bournemouth, which is another thing that I would say is like I think that there's literally a Nathan's in Bournemouth and also in Southampton. So it's one of those things. It's not really anywhere else, and I feel like it's sort of part of Bournemouth.
Okay, that's all right. So, what general advice would you give to students wanting to study for their first year of university?
Ooh, 100%. The general piece of advice I could give is don't expect anything, because I'm sure that you will be disappointed if you have any sort of expectation. Um, I guess from me, like everybody I knew who was the year before me, it was COVID time. So I sort of had an expectation that it was going to be better than COVID, and it did live up to that expectation. Um, but yeah, I'd want 100% say that if you don't have any expectations, you're walking in blind. You can sort of prepare yourself to not know what to expect. And I think that that will sort of make things better, and you won't be like too too fixated on something going a certain way.
And what advice would you give to students wanting to study at Bournemouth University?
Students to study at Bournemouth. Ooh, I would definitely say, I don't know really. That is a very interesting question. I would say come to the university with some social goals in mind, because unless you're like, some people are all about the nightlife. I understand that. But if you aren't into the nightlife at all, or if you don't want to confine your life to the nightlife, you have to find something to sort of keep up your free time. Because even though I was part of Nerve Radio and the Dance Society in my first year, and it was still not as social. And I've sort of heard from other people that they've had similar experiences where they haven't really met so many people. So it's probably a good idea to have some social activities planned before you get here.
And what advice would you give to students wanting to study your course at university?
Networking. Just make sure that you have some sort of networking skills, because you need to get yourself out there. You want to get yourself to do some additional projects. Like they had a 48-hour film challenge, and even though it was super last minute, it was something that it was good to meet some other people and to get some experience at the same time. So just things like that.
You chose going to university over an apprenticeship / going right to work. What path you to make this choice?
Well, the word that you said that really grabbed me there was I chose. And for me, I feel that in this current sort of era, for a lot of people, there's sort of not really a choice, and that everybody's mind sort of just goes straight to university. And for me, although it was sort of like a mental at the back of the mind choice for me, was that because I hadn't done media before, that the easiest way for me to get into it is to do a degree in it. But as far as it goes for choosing a degree over like an apprenticeship or going straight into work, for media in particular, if you have no background, you can't get into work. And we were looking at the apprenticeships, and for starting an apprenticeship age 18 in television, you have to have had 2 years experience working in television without having a qualification. So for a lot of us, it's sort of not an option. So yeah, that was sort of where it came from. But the plan was always to go to university and study media. So I didn't really think about it really being a choice.
The other options. That makes sense. So when you think about your first year that you've now finished, can you think about any ups, your highest up and your lowest down? Obviously, you talked about the best things about studying, but from a personal point of view, what would you say has been the high? This part's more for students who are curious of what it's actually like to go to university. Could you, like, even if it's a story or if it's the situation, could you remember what you came to university thinking and what it actually was, and like the high and the low of like, I thought it was going to be this, but it was actually this, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So for me personally, I think when I was coming to university, the only expectation I had was that it was going to be a more social place. You'd meet more people, you'd get to do more networking, that sort of thing. And for me, I didn't really get that. And I understand that part of it was probably because I didn't really get on with my flatmates. But yeah, it's sort of, that was like the point where I was like, I think it got to about January and it was like I hadn't met anybody, I hadn't really done anything. And then around, what month was it? I think it was about April. That was when I sort of started fulfilling my role as a student ambassador. And yeah, since April, I've done so many things being a student ambassador. And I think that's probably that's like the most fulfilling thing for my uni experience so far. And that was, I got to meet new people. I've gained some experience, and that sort of helped me to start volunteering. I sort of volunteer with this organization now, and it paved the way for my confidence. It paved the way for my networking skills. And I think that's probably the best that it's been this year for me.
Okay. Could you tell us any freshers' mistakes you made and or freshers should avoid making, except for networking, which we've established you need to do?
um, yeah, mistakes. That's a very difficult question, I think, to answer. Probably because I wasn't really a fresher. Um, I would definitely say one to avoid is getting too invested with the idea of flatmates. Because yeah, like I never saw my flatmates and I still got freshers flu. Um, so like just thinking about trying to separate yourself from your flatmates. Um, I don't know if this is making sense, but like not 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 like spending too much time with your flatmates at the
Like
start.
expanding your friendship group.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, if you confine yourself to your flat like I did, you spend so much time with your flatmates and you sort of latch onto them and then you don't really venture out, which is probably the mistake that I made, thinking that I would get on with my flatmates and then, not. So yeah, I would say that definitely scope out on your first couple of days. Don't necessarily stick with your flatmates, which I suppose is also the same as saying networking.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
you talked about how the student ambassador helped you network and kind of helped you build your confidence. As students who probably don't know what student ambassador is, they can watch videos of what it is. But what was your experience other than the networking and the confidence? Like, did you enjoy being a student ambassador? Was it fun? Was it not fun? What was your experience, personal experience of being a student ambassador?
well, I would say that it was for me. Like I've done open days. I've mostly done marketing, like digital marketing, and I would say that it's definitely been, as a media person, it's been good for me to work on my media skills, but it's also helped me to work on like planning skills and things like that. I say that the most recent thing I've been doing is being a clearing ambassador, and sort of processing clearing applications and working for the future students team. And I would say that it's given me a work sort of ethic. It's helped me sort of to like navigate the world of working without officially being in it. So it's given me a lot of experience. It's helped me with my writing skills, with my sort of information distribution, and sort of marketing. It's given me quite a few different roles to sort of dip my toe into.
Okay. So at this point, we let students have what I like to call a free for all. You can say what you want about what you like. You can say something smart. You can say something dumb. Literally, the floor is yours.
um, I don't know. I don't really have anything to say. Um,
It could be advice. You could say nothing. It's really up to you.
um, yeah, the only thing I would say is just have fun. Whatever you're doing, have fun. Make sure you're having fun. And if that means that you've sort of got to put what you want to do on hold to sort of get you in the right place, then go ahead and do it. You know, uni's going to be here, apprenticeships will be here. Literally, just put whatever it is on hold until you find what you want to do, and just power through. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I am plugged in.